Let's see if I can save this broken nail that's hanging by a literal thread. I'm going to teach you how to do this. I promise you can figure it out. It's not that hard. You can use a tea bag, but I like to use nail wraps. They're made for this purpose. They're little pre-cut strips of adhesive silk. They're cut to fit your nail. You just find one that fits. I like to trim them to really fit my nail perfectly. I have these linked in my Amazon along with everything I'm using in this video, but you can also get them at Sally. Okay, hold the break together as tight as you can and then lay the nail wrap on top of the nail, covering the entire broken area. I'll show you in a sec why I'm not putting it all the way down to my cuticle. Then just cut some of the excess off. It's easier to work with. I don't always do this step, but it's such a bad break I'm going to. Take nail glue and brush it over the break on the underside of the nail just to stabilize further. But my next necessary step is to take my brush on gel resin and brush that over the entire surface area of the nail wrap. This fully adheres the nail wrap to your nail. Yeah, you can use a brush on glue to do this instead of resin. I just think the resin works so much better. It just looks better. It feels more seamless. It lays down easier than glue does. I'm doing it a little bit too thick here. Honestly, you want to do more thin layers, but you don't want to leave any part of the nail wrap uncovered by the resin. And you want it to lay completely flat against your entire nail, especially the edges. This IBD resin is self-drying, but a fan really speeds up the process. Once that layer is completely dry, then you can move on to the next step, which is clip the edges of the nail wrap to sit flush with the actual edge of your nail. You can clip your nails shorter if you want at this point. I don't want to because it takes me literally 2 months to get this long, so no. Next step, I promise we're almost done, is to file the edges of the nail wrap just to make sure it's completely smooth. There's no jagged edges. You want a completely flush fit with the edge of your nail so the nail wrap doesn't start to lift. Next, take a buffing block. Again, smooth out those edges. But what the buffing block is really here to do is buff out the texture of that nail wrap so it looks more seamless and blended in with the surface of your nail. I like to use this downward motion on the edges of my nails, really gets everything flush, and then wipe off all of that dust with a non-acetone nail polish remover. And then we're just going to repeat those steps with one final layer of resin. This IBD resin has always been my go-to product for this process, but it should not be goopy. It should be pretty thin in consistency and spread out easily. I have gotten bottles in the past that were goopy. I always return them. They will take them back on Amazon. With this layer of resin, you really want to focus on enveloping the edges of your nail with the resin so that the nail wrap doesn't lift. Highly recommend this little fan for doing your nails at home. It's in my TikTok shop. Then let that layer completely dry before you buff it out one more time. You're never going to completely buff away the look of the nail wrap, but texture-wise, you should feel very little texture. It should be very smooth. Oh yeah, the reason I didn't put the wrap all the way down to the base of my cuticle is it's just so much easier when it's pulled further away to blend in the edge of the nail wrap with your nail. Whenever I put it all the way to the base of my cuticle, I can just never blend it in, and then after a couple weeks, it clearly looks grown out, like it kind of looks like I have a fake nail or something on. You might have to deal with some texture from resin and glue on the underside of your nail, but scrape anything off of your finger pad. And then paint that nail with something to protect it. If you paint it with color, obviously you won't see the nail wrap at all. But if you buff it out well with a clear coat, you're barely gonna see it. Obviously, with a horrible break like this, you do see the crack. You don't want to use color, but the texture does kind of bother you. You can use a nail concealer like this. It really just kind of gives a blur, a light sheen to the nail. I love these Pro Bell nail concealers. This is one coat of their pink concealer, which is in my TikTok shop. Take it easy with that nail. Obviously, it's still broken. This break is really bad, so we'll see how long it lasts, but I've had them last for a month. If you're more of a read the instructions type of learner, I have all of the steps to this process written out with more tips and tricks in my nail guide, which is in my bio.